Hey, CK here, and I'm back with another Automation Monday. Today we're looking at a student request from one of my Skillshare classes about Keyboard Maestro. The student is another Logic user like me, and he was wondering if it's possible to rename, recolor, and assign a new icon to a track in Logic, all via one automation. And it is. There are some caveats, but yes, it's possible. Let's take a look. So here I am, I've got this synth track selected, and I'm going to issue my macro that will rename it to bass and change its icon to a bass guitar and change its color to a nice deep blue, which is what I always use for my bass tracks. Here we go. Pow, and it's done. Okay, pretty slick, but let me show you those caveats I was talking about. So here we are in Keyboard Maestro. This is the macro. I got to rename the track, recolor the track, and assign a track icon. Renaming the track, that's a pretty simple matter. There's a keyboard shortcut in Logic of Shift Return to select the track name, and from there it's a matter of typing the new name and pressing Return to confirm it. Alternatively, you could choose it from the menu. I think the macro runs faster off of the keyboard shortcuts rather than the menu commands. Using menu commands would make it more compatible for sharing with other people. So simple enough. I select the track name with this keyboard shortcut, and then Keyboard Maestro types the word bass plus a carriage return to confirm that, and we're done with that. As for coloring the track, similarly, there's a keyboard shortcut of Option C to open the color palette in Logic Pro. Alternatively, you could use menu commands. Meh, whatever. Then I have a fairly smart pause, which says, hey, wait until you see this graphic, this image on the screen. That's just a little snippet of the color palette. And so as soon as Keyboard Maestro sees that on the screen, then it knows it's okay to move ahead to the next step. This prevents us from trying to click in the color palette before the color palette is even up and available yet. So next, that's exactly what we do. We click on the blue for my bass. You see it's exactly the same image. And I created it so that clicking directly in the center of it would choose the color that I want. And that makes the coordinates of the mouse click, dead simple to set up. All right. Then, just because Logic has that bug that I've mentioned before, I don't know if they would even agree that it's a bug, but it doesn't tend to expose and update its menu commands to external applications such as Keyboard Maestro very readily. So, for example, I've just shown the color palette, and in the menu system, there's a command called show colors. Well, once you've shown them, that changes to hide colors. Logic doesn't update that to any passers-by, such as Keyboard Maestro, until I actually flash that menu open and then shut it right back up, then it updates. So basically what I do then is wait until the left button is no longer clicking on the palette, and we have a menu item called Hide Colors. So that's just, again, a safety pause to wait until we know that it's cool to close the color palette. And then I issue the Option C again, and that hides the color palette. Again, replacing two actions, one to show the view menu and one to choose the actual Hide Colors command. Probably this one isn't necessary because I did it right here. So yeah. All right, so coloring the track, pretty straightforward. And then assigning the track icon, track icon. This is where the tricky little bit comes in. All right, so I don't have a keyboard shortcut assigned to the command to open the icons palette. So I need to choose that from the menu. So I do my two-step thing where I sort of just flash the track menu open, and then I choose assign track icon from it. And I wait until Keyboard Maestro can see a little chunk of that icon palette. I don't do the whole thing because it will definitely look different depending what icon is currently set on that track. So I go for just a small chunk of it to recognize. And as you saw, it worked. So once Keyboard Maestro sees that the palette is open, it then clicks at the right spot to choose base. So basically you can see in the center, that's from left to right, and then a little bit down to get down to there. And so it clicks right about there, and that's just right to choose base there. All right, groovy. And finally, we're waiting until the base icons are showing. So I'll show you how that looks in Logic. If I go to track, assign track icon, first we have this, we're waiting for these guys to show up. And then as you cruise around, we're waiting for the base icons to show up. And then we click that one. All right. So yeah, we click right dead center of this, and that chooses the one that I want. All right, groovy. So where is the gotcha? Where is the caveat? I'll show you. So again, I'll bring up this palette and look what happens. It's translucent, all right? So that means its appearance is wildly variable. I mean, I could color some of my tracks pink and bright yellow and, any color under the sun, and that's going to impact the appearance of this palette, which then impacts Keyboard Maestro's ability to recognize it on the screen. So my little trick was I positioned my project timeline right there, so it's over a consistent dark background. And then it works. So little bit of tricksy going on there. And, what I've found is that there's no way from the keyboard to navigate the categories. The keyboard does, however, just the left and right arrows, choose among the currently displayed icons, but there's no good way to move among these guys. It just goes to selecting tracks or selecting icons here. So if there were, that would be better. I wouldn't have to recognize the particular icon or the whole image. But as it is, it requires a little bit of a workaround. So ultimately, the answer to can this be done is a little bit yes and a little bit no. If there's a preference in Logic to make this thing fully solid, opaque, please let me know. So that is our Automation Monday for today. I hope that that's been helpful, maybe inspiring to build some of your own macros. Keyboard Maestro, it rocks. It does, and it's $36, and I use it for virtually everything I do. Anything where there's a repetitive task, an error-prone task, this is your jam. So check it out. And as always, if you're interested in learning more, the first thing you can do is download Keyboard Maestro as a demo and just try it out. But I'd also encourage you to check out my 2 classes on Skillshare. One is a getting started class. It'll get you up and running in like an hour and 15 minutes. It's called Easy, Powerful Mac Automation for Creative Pros using Keyboard Maestro. And I have a second class that is specifically about creating smart pauses in your macros to make them more reliable and more consistent. All right, that's it for this week. Cheers.